How's it going, everybody? I got some more magic for you today with a Rakdos Raid deck. The reason I'm calling it a Rakdos Raid deck is because we are making use of this new raid mechanic from Foundations. We've got Perforating Artist, which has Death Touch, is a 3/2 for 3, and has Raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, each opponent loses 3 life, unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent of their choice or discards a card. This is fantastic. Actually, one of the stronger raid cards in my opinion, and I really do like it. I'm only running it as a 2 of because it is a 3-cost card, and we've got a fair amount of those already in the deck. But this, I think, is probably more useful in most cases than Alesha. This deck does try to play off of Alesha quite a bit, though. I've got the Emmerstrom Predator. This one doesn't have a raid ability, but it's a good flying attacker that can be really hard to deal with, and we don't mind sacrificing creatures in this deck, so it can get really big and be a huge threat. We've got Alesha, who laughs at fate. Another raid creature. It's a 3-drop 2/2 with first strike. Whenever Alesha attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it, and raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from the graveyard to the battlefield. So this can be really nice to bring out any of our 1 and 2 drops on the turn that it's played if we got to attack, and if not, then it also still gets the ability in later turns, and it gets stronger each time it attacks, and it has first strike. So Alesha is a very good card. Not useful in common synergies with Rakdos, like sacrificing and stuff, but still very good in this type of a deck. Because almost everything in this, minus the Emmerstrom Predator and Alesha itself and the Perforating Artist, are small enough mana cost to be brought out immediately upon Alesha being played. So I'll get into, I have my Stromkirk Noble here. I really like this card. It's a fantastic 1-drop if you get it, and if you can start getting attacks in with it early, it becomes giant very quickly. We've got Torch the Tower, fantastic removal card, especially with the ability to exile necessary things rather than just kill. It comes in handy in best of 1 or best of 3 against a lot of different matchups. It lets you get rid of things like Enduring Innocence so that they don't come back as the enchantment side. The other Enduring cards, if you can hit them, depending on which ones they are, most of them only have 3 toughness at most, so you can get it with the bargain with this if you're able. Then you've also got the Unrelenting Slasher. If you bargain this, it can also exile the Unrelenting Slasher, or even if you just attack and deal damage to the Unrelenting Slasher and then finish it off with this, that'll still exile it. It also hits in the mono-red matchup, especially in best of 3, since that's where mono-red has mostly moved to, with the Leyline being banned elsewhere. You can get rid of the... Is it Manifold Mouse? Is that the one? Whichever mouse it is that deals damage to your health when it dies, or the Cacophony Scamp. So, Torch the Tower is a fantastic removal right now because it has that exile effect. We've got Arya's Oathsworn. It is a 2-drop 2/2 with Menace, and it has an ability very similar to the Stromkirk Noble. Each time it deals damage to a player, if it has fewer than 4 1/1 counters, you can put a 1/1 counter on it. Then if it has exactly 4 1/1 counters on it, you search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So this thing can get up to at least 4 bigger. The Stromkirk Noble can continue getting bigger beyond that, but it also can't be blocked by humans. So both of them have some interesting flavor that makes them more evasive and fairly annoying. You want to get rid of them so they don't get bigger. We've got Fear of Missing Out, which is just purely a fantastic card from Duskmourn. This thing can allow you to completely overwhelm opponents if they don't get rid of it and you end up getting Delirium. When Fear of Missing Out enters, you discard a card and then draw a card, which can be very helpful. And then if you have Delirium, when Fear of Missing Out attacks for the first time each turn, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, untap target creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat step. So you can have multiple combat steps, attack multiple times, and we are running the Urbrask's Forge as well to really capitalize on that. I have attacked with like 2 of these out on the battlefield with Delirium and ended up with like 3 or 4 combat steps with Urbrask's Forge and just completely overwhelmed an opponent that was actually winning at the time. We've got the Undead Sprinter. It is a 2-drop 2/2 with trample and haste. The haste can be very relevant here because of the raid effects in our deck, but if the Undead Sprinter is in your graveyard and a non-zombie creature died this turn, whether it be yours or your opponent's, you can replay the Undead Sprinter and it comes back with a 1/1 counter on it. So, very nice card to get back from the graveyard on its own as well, but also gets hit by Alesha, but it does not get the 1/1 counter if you bring it back that way. My favorite raid creature, the Sear Slicer Goblin. It is a 2-drop 2/1 with the raid ability at the beginning of your end step. If you attack this turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. This card is fantastic for all of Rakdos, not just for a goblin deck. Like I said, this is probably my favorite raid creature. This thing is really powerful, and if they don't deal with it, you very quickly have an army of goblins. Especially synergizing well with like Urbrask's Forge, and our other smaller things that would have already come out too to be attacking. So I've played this turn 4 before with playing the Undead Sprinter first, attacking, and then playing the Sear Slicer. So a lot of different really good synergies here. I'll be playing best of 1, but we do have a sideboard made if you're interested in playing best of 3. Duress for some of the more controlling matchups, Blot Out for going up against Dimir. It's very helpful against Kaito. Ghost Vacuum to go against a lot of the graveyard synergies. Nowhere to Run, fantastic for getting rid of any ward or hexproof abilities, especially with Boros being pretty popular with enchantments, but you can also run into Selesnya enchantments, Azorius enchantments, so this Nowhere to Run is fantastic for all of those. Pyroclasm's really good if you're playing against like elves or something and need to blow up the board quickly. It does hurt you with this deck as well, since you're a fairly small creature focused deck, but it is there if you absolutely have to do it. Liliana, fantastic for a lot of matchups. It can really help in those enchantment themed decks because they don't play a lot of creatures usually. It's also really good in control matchups to help you empty your opponent's hand. And then one more Urbrask's Forge for situations where you may not be able to play as many of your creatures and keep them on board, but Urbrask's Forge is getting it done because it can't be removed as easily. So that can let you be up to a play set if necessary. Anyway, I'll go ahead and start getting into games. I'm going to try for 3 wins like I usually do. I will be playing best of 1. So far I've been having a lot of fun with this deck, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Alright, coming into game 1, we do get to go first. This isn't the best hand ever, but I'll keep it. It's not terrible. We've got an early Torch the Tower if we need it, Go for the Throat, and Undead Sprinter, so... see what our opponent wants to duress. They got rid of the Torch. Let's go ahead and get the Sprinter going. Drew a land, which isn't fantastic. We don't really need more than 4 land ever. Apparently nothing from our opponent there. Did get another Torch the Tower back. Okay, they decided to use a Bitter Triumph on our Sprinter. A little weird in my opinion, but okay. I don't think that's a very good target for a Torch the Tower, or a Bitter Triumph. We're gonna run out another one. I'm sure they're holding more removal waiting for the Immerstrom Dragon, so we'll hold off on it for as long as we can. Seems like our opponent's trying to play some kind of a creature-focused deck, or a creature-killing-focused deck. I'm gonna go ahead and run out the Immerstrom because I don't necessarily mind if it dies, and if they're going to get rid of it, they're going to need to do so with something other than Destroy effect, or multiple of them perhaps. Now would be a really nice time to get something to give us a token. Just doesn't appear to be happening. Let's go ahead and eat the Bitter Triumph from the opponent's graveyard. fine with letting that hit, personally. Alright, so game one was a very easy win. Our opponent seemed to want to do some heavy like creature control type stuff, but they didn't really get much of it going for them here. I was going to actually use my Torch the Tower on their Enduring Tenacity as well, just to make sure that it got exiled on that Day of Judgment also. So a very, very easy win, actually. No trouble at all. We'll head into game two. Didn't get to do much raid with this because we got flooded with land quite a bit, but still an interesting match. Alright, we do get to go first, which is nice. We are missing the Noble, which is too bad because I really would love to get an opening hand with that, but this still looks totally acceptable. In this case, I'll probably try to run out the Oathsworn first. Looks like this is going to be a matchup where we need to Torch. Maybe this is an equipment-focused deck, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure what red-white uses Ginger Brute. That's actually pretty unusual. Okay. They've got an Arabella. I'm going to try getting my Seer Slicer going here. Seer Slicer would be another fantastic card in an Arabella deck. Fear of Missing Out as well. I should probably try making a new Arabella deck. Unfortunately, our Go for the Throats cannot hit Arabella. Not sure about this card, Haunted Scream. Not even looked at this one before, honestly. Apparently it can tap for mana. So if they attack here, we're not really bothered. They did not, but we can go ahead and use Go for the Throat right here. I'm not going to attack with my Goblin because it would just die, but we can get in more with the Oathsworn. Okay. The opponent went ahead and scooped there. An interesting deck and gave me some ideas for a new one to make, but you could even put Raise from the Past in it and probably get really good with this deck too. So I've got some interesting ideas there, but this Oathsworn was going to be able to continue getting in. We weren't really having any problems. We were missing some mana, so it would be nice to be able to get the Fear of Missing Out going sometime soon. We had another Seer Slicer, and this isn't a legendary creature, so if we were able to get it on the board, we'd be able to double up on our goblins. Yeah, I really think this and Fear of Missing Out would synergize very well with Arabella, so I'll probably make a deck involving that sometime soon too. But anyway, that was a pretty quick game too, but let's go ahead and see if we can get a third win. Alright, we get to go first. We do have the Noble, but we don't have an opening hand that lets us play it. I still think this is probably worth keeping, though. We run very few tap lands, but still got hit by one, apparently. Unless they remove the creature, we have a good chance of it not being blocked. Yeah, so no issues there. Go ahead and drop in a land and attack. I think in this case I want to go Seer Slicer and Noble. And then next turn we can get the Forge going. I guess they're mono red. I didn't even realize these were mountains because they don't really look like it. What do we want to do here? probably still Forge. We've got good blockers with the goblins, and I can probably get a Torch the Tower to kill that pretty easily, actually. Okay, I decided to Obliterating Bolt my Oathsworn, and then play a Hired Claw, not exactly a big threat. Okay, let's go ahead. Attack. Just a couple of these. See what he does. Pretty simply done there. And then we'll get our Noble in the graveyard. Probably get it back out with Alesha.
Path to victory is fighting side by side.
Okay, so he wanted to kill my fear of missing out.
This is for the fallen.
Let's see, what do we want to do here? Probably attack here, then send these three here. Get our fear of missing out back. That'll give me delirium. We're close to it now. Yeah. Go ahead. I will attack with her. Not that it's entirely necessary, but I think this should be pretty good. Has first strike, so not really in danger even if they double block. This is a really good showcase of how this deck can go. Obliterating Bolt on Alesh is probably a good idea at this point, but our opponent's looking mighty weak. Shock on our Seer Slicer. Yep, and then they give up. So they were able to take out our big threats, but couldn't do anything after that. Which we did still have another Forge. I really would have liked one more thing, like an instant in our grave. Well, we had instant, creature, and artifact. We needed an enchantment or something, which could have been doable if we had lost one of these Fear of Missing Outs and got it in the graveyard. But anyway, pretty easy 3 wins. This was a weird deck. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but we overwhelmed them and got to show this deck really nicely against it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a very fun deck, so I recommend you get to check it out. And I thought this video did pretty good showcasing the versatility of it, because we even got to have a Emerston Predator win in the first game. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you check out more of my decks in the future.